Hi guys, my name is Claire's and welcome to this quick and easy video tutorial on how to paint a single flower stem along with some leaves. Something very similar to what we have going on over here. So if you've never done watercolor before, here's what we are going to do to start off, just so you guys have a little bit of an idea of how things happen or flow or go. I've got some color set up over here. I've got an orange, I've got a red, I've got yellow and a green. You'll notice that they're very little in proportion, and that's mainly because a little goes a long way with watercolor. You take your brush, you get some color, you kind of mix it in a larger area or in another little pot area, and then depending on how light or dark you want your color to show up, you either add more water to make it lighter or add more color to get it in a thicker consistency. Okay, and we're gonna get into that in a little bit. Let me talk about the brushes really quickly. I've got a Princeton Velvetouch number 4 and a Princeton Velvetouch number 8, and these are typically the regular brushes you would use for painting in watercolor. There's some fancier brushes as well, but you would start off with the rounds, which is what we have here. I've got some water ready and I've got some watercolor paper here. This is 50% cotton, and the cotton pretty much allows for the color to submerge and give us those beautiful bleeds, and you'll know what I mean about beautiful bleeds in a bit once I put some color on here. Okay, so let's talk about how we activate our brushes. So you want to make sure, one thing I forgot also, it's helpful to have a piece of paper towel just so you can, once you've sort of moved your brush around in the water, or if you've got excess water, you can just lightly dab. Okay. All right. So the way I'm going to activate some color is just swish your brush around in the water. Make sure you kind of rub it to the side so that you take off any excess water if you don't want excess water. If you want a little bit of water, we are mixing color. Just leave it as is, like dip it. Get some color from the side. I'm going to start off with, let's start off with the orange, and I'll mix a little bit of that on here. So what I've done was I just dipped a little and I'm mixing it on here. Now this area's got pools of water happening already, so I didn't need to dip and add more water, but typically what you would need to do is, if this area is dry, you swipe a little bit of color, you add it on here, you dip your brush in the water, and then you sort of transport it over to the area where you're mixing. Now this is a good enough consistency. You can see how that looks. I'd say it's about like a 30-70%, and that's fabulous. So what we're going to do is we're going to use 2 brushes to create the flower I showed you. So here's what I want to do first. So I'm going to do the following. So this is how you pretty much mix the color. I'm going to go ahead and, using this brush, we're going to add little strokes around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to wash this brush off. I'm going to get a little bit of the red, mix that on here, and I'm going to add some of this red just in a little dot next to the orange. Just like that. Okay, now I'm going to take my number 8, dip it in here, making sure I don't have too much water, so lightly dabbing to the side, and then using the point, we want to make sure we have a nice fine point. I'm going to start with here and press down and drag out, and that just drags all the color out. I'm going to perfect the other side of that petal by just sort of dragging along. Same thing we do with the rest. I'm dipping to get a little bit more water so I can get more of a watery consistency as I'm painting this on. Let's move this out of the way. And we're kind of going around. Feel free to turn your sheet around. Also, when you see water pooling that way, pull it all the way down. I'm going to do the same thing here. I need a little more water. And pull it all the way there. Same thing here. If you can leave a little bit of white space between the petals, that's great. This just allows more room for the flower to breathe, and you're not getting a blob. Now, before this dries up, and this is where it's important, we need to make sure we can get more highlights or darker areas in here. So using this brush, I'm just going to go ahead, get some more of that red, and let's just add some red in here in the center. Darken the center and you're able to get a beautiful, beautiful blend. And again, this is happening because we've got the area still damp. If it's dried up and you try and get this effect, you will not. It just won't work. So I don't want to wash this off. You can see how the color is bleeding in and giving us such a pretty effect. I'm going to get a little bit of that orange, and there's certain areas that are still sort of damp. I'm going to just help that along. So you can actually move the color around to your liking and get the results that you like. I'm washing this off. I'm getting a little bit of the yellow. Let's get some yellow in here. And I'm going to add some yellow in some of the other areas. Now you can see this isn't flowing as well as this, and that's mainly because here there's a ton of water. Here it's almost kind of drying off. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you have tried it out, you'll have a better understanding and you'll know exactly when to strike. So you can feel free to kind of add that in as well, like this. And you have your flower, right? So now we can add, I'm not a huge fan of how the yellow is just sitting there, so I'm going to add some of that orange back in there. Fabulous. So now I'm going to wash this brush off and let's get some of the green and do our stem. So same idea, take some of the green, mix it onto the side. Make sure you get enough water. If you need more water, mix it to the consistency you want. And I will have this, I'm going to have this start from here. So again, you need to make sure you've got a nice fine point. It's not fully laden with water. And you're going to lightly graze and attach to the flower. And I'm going to extend that this way. And then how do you do a leaf? Fine point, start at the tip here, press down, and slowly trail off. If you want to make this a thicker leaf, you can get a little bit more color and just kind of make it a thicker leaf there. You can also get a darker green by adding a little bit of red in the mix, just like I am doing over here. And you can add a darker tone to your leaf. And less is more, so try and keep it as simple as you can. So I'm just going to get another sprig or another stem kind of just protruding this way. And I'm doing the leaves pretty much the same way that I showed you. You can start from the out in or from the stem, pressing and trailing outward. And there you go. You have your simple flower sprig or flower stem with a couple of leaves. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments if you're a beginner, if you found this helpful. And I am on Facebook and Instagram, so please do tag me, follow me on there, and hit that like button if you like this video, if it was simple enough for you to follow along and do your first flower along with a couple of leaves. All right, thanks guys for watching, and we will chat soon. Bye.